We just got done training in the rain and the dark and in the cold.
Once it got dark, I think that's when my fun meter was pegged. I was like, all right, let's
this
wrap
is
this up.
a little too familiar.
Yeah.
That was awesome, though. I mean, that was the full experience.
Yeah.
And the first experience for a lot of people, which is, I mean, it was great to see average Americans out there. And I'm saying that like in the people that have never had that before doing that.
Several people's first day of their first handgun class was in the rain.
Yes.
At like 50 degrees, and it rained all day long.
Yeah, that was a lot. So that was awesome. And you guys did great. Obviously, Mike's instruction, and then you guys assistant instructing, coaching, helping people here and there was spot on. So
thank you. I mean, really, it's all Mike. I mean, that part's, nobody's trying to get in his lane.
I was actually telling him that I loved the safety brief because most of the time it's just kind of like, all right, let's do the safety rules, recite the safety rules. Okay, let's go shoot. But it was like, all right, let's go through this list of everything and reiterate that we did in the beginning of the course. So that was, I really appreciated that, just the extra amount of emphasis on safety, especially considering where we were shooting, which was essentially a life flight distance.
Yeah, basically an hour from the nearest hospital in any direction,
Right.
Which was a little nerve-wracking for me because I'm like, really better be on the ball if something happens, but let's try to have nothing happen.
Yeah. The portions that you taught were incredible. Like I told you before offline, that lock picking course was the best I've had, the most detailed, between the actual presentation, your explanation of like the interworkings of the lock and why, certain things. And I like one of the things you did because you, for example, with the warden locks, you talked about like, hey, here's how it works and here's how the key works. But if we shaved apart this, look, we can basically bypass this. And oh, look, here's a tool that does exactly that. I like how you did that.
Thank you.
It reminded me of like in engineering school, like how we would like go through the process and here's this equation that works perfectly for this thing that we're trying to do. And so that way you understand the entire process instead of just, here's a thing, stick it in there, twist it, and there you go, it'll unlock.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I was used to. And they would, go over a little bit, but you went over the detail and the just the very small intricacies of how they work, because I think that's important, because that way it's
you actually understand what you're trying to achieve in there. And it took a long time. I went to a couple classes with the military before it really clicked how that worked. And I'm like, why didn't someone explain this? Why did I have to, spend a couple of years figuring this out?
That was great. And then obviously the TAC Med portion, was it Intro to TAC Med, or what was it called?
I just made up a name real quick because Rich is like, we gotta figure out what to call this. And I'm like, well, I can't call it any trademark term. So, yeah.
That was great too. And like I said, those people's first exposure to that, and I mean that's one of those things too that is far more likely to save their life than the gun.
Yeah.
Or someone else's, right? Be it a gunfight or a wreck on the side of the road. So I mean, I'd always encourage people, like, get medicine. Learn how to do tactical medicine or trauma medicine or whatever, because that's super invaluable. But speaking of skills and speaking of a wealth of knowledge, how'd you like that segue? Let's talk about this. We talked about this a little bit on the first podcast we did, but what was your motivation to do this, and can you just talk a little bit about this?
I mean, a couple things. I think a man hits a certain age, and there's a little bit of desire to, there's an impetus to start thinking about legacy.
Mm-hmm.
So what you want to leave behind, and I think this is part of what I wanted to leave behind. And there, I remember I've told the story several times, but this is kind of the book that I wanted when I was 16 years old. This is the book that I wish someone would have been like, hey man, you're going to have this crazy adventurous life, and here's, this is going to set you up for success to kind of get started down that path. And at like 20, I say 16 and 26, but really that's probably like 27, 28 in the barracks, I started trying to write something like this, and pretty quickly realized this is going to be a real short book because I don't actually know. And so I started this 3 years ago, September of 2022. Uh-huh. And even during the writing of this, I'm like, my knowledge or my, maybe my credibility is a little bit light on this. Maybe I need to go take another course or two, read a few more books, get a little bit more education on what this is. But it's just kind of the book that I thought is kind of a compendium of masculine skills that, if you're going to go out and be, some sort of adventurous, climb Mount Everest and be in the military and all this, you should definitely know. But I think it's probably just helpful for anyone. And it's 12 different chapters covering very different topics, from health and wellness, mobility, financial stability, to all the way through wilderness survival and firearms. But it's all just kind of at a basic level, and it's I joked with my friends at the time. I'm like, I want to write like a textbook size book. I want people to be like,
well, it's like a reference manual, like something just like keep and like, oh, let me go look at this bit, like go to that chapter, and, oh yeah, that's what that was. So you can read it obviously, but then keep it for reference later on.
Well, I don't know if anyone's going to actually sit down and read this cover to cover, but if they do, they have a lot of patience. It's a long
audiobook coming out. No, it's really cool. I mean, the topics are just, it is a wealth of knowledge. And I mean, I imagine it took you a long time to put this together. Yeah. 3 years in total. And, I'd get down on myself because I'm like, man, this is taking so long. But then I looked at the final word count. It's 326,000 words, which the average novel is 80 to 100,000. Yeah. So I'm like, I basically wrote a novel a year for the last 3 years, plus, all my editing process and photos and, unfortunately no lock picking. This is, the security side. How locks work.
A little bit of everything in here.
Man. Oh, and is it available on Amazon?
It is available on Amazon. And things like the medical class that you just attended, like every bit of that is covered in here, and then quite a bit more, go into quite a bit more depth, especially on the medical side of things versus the traumatic injury side of things, which honestly you're probably, over the course of a lifetime, you're probably more likely to deal with a diabetic emergency or heart attack or something like that than you are a gunshot wound or a severe burn or something of that nature. But all that's covered in there as well.
And I love the forewords by Rich Brown.
Yeah, man. Honestly, Rich was. I'm sure his patience was tested at times because I'm like, hey, man, what do you think about? What if I did this in every chapter? Like, and Rich always made time to, to hear me out, to give me some feedback.
I'm sure I've tested his patience way more with my videos. Sending him a dozen drafts before posting the final one.
Which, speaking of, this morning was the first time I've actually seen your dad bod.
Oh, yeah. And the device, for those that aren't familiar.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm hoping, Rich was talking about he may get it out tomorrow. It depends on if this is going on for the rains. Because the prototype is not water resistant.
Yeah.
The final one will be. But, I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully we get some use with it, because I think they'll like it. But...
Yeah, a little bit of a sidetrack, man, but I think visual stimulus is just a game changer.
Yeah, definitely a different processing that takes place. Like you can perceive it every time you do it. It'll be at the neuro or flipping targets or dad bod or whatever. But
and even today, you could see people like, hey, we're gonna present out and fire one round, and it'll be like bang, and it's not I'm gonna shoot until the stimulus goes away. It's a firing squad training.
Exactly.
I call this the Defenders and Disciples Behavioral Optical Decision Device, or the dad bod. Most range training is scripted. You hear a beep, then run a drill, and there's almost no thinking involved. But real life does not work like that. And so the dad bod uses a visual stimulus instead of a beep. So you have to stay threat focused and react in real time. It tells you when to shoot, and more importantly, when to stop shooting. Because we always say shoot to stop the threat, but we almost never train to actually stop shooting when the threat stops. So if you want to train decision making and not just mechanics, that's exactly what this device is built for. And if you want to get one, then you can scan this QR code or click the link in the description.
One thing I try to stress is put yourself in that mindset. You just had to shoot someone.
Yeah.
How are you going? Visualization's huge with sports or whatever. And I think that same thing applies with shooting. It's if you can put yourself in a visualization mindset of I just did this, what type of emotions, fear would I be experiencing? And obviously you can't completely replicate it. That's impossible. But not just treating it oh bang, oh okay, oh bang, okay,
Yeah.
So that was. But I think it seems like everyone did a pretty good job of that too today. They treating it very seriously and not goofing off. Obviously having fun. Because I think it's always fun.
Honestly, I was pretty humbled by just, man, people really seem to have gotten a lot out of this and really seem to be appreciative of what we did here. And
well, you guys leave after the day and we're with the students, and everyone is really enjoying it. Like just the conversations,
good.
And the living room at the lodge at night, everyone's talking about what they learned, and I think this is just, it is an experience. It's not just a course, and I think there's so much more value in that. It's like the last video I did of that long-range precision shooting course in Lewis, Idaho. We took the course, and then you stayed at Don's house at night, and they cooked for you, and you got to hang out in the living room, and the classes were in the living room. So it's kind of that intimate environment, which is very similar to like the military and law enforcement, where you get that camaraderie, and it's not the course is divorced from everything else you do in the day. You get to have the hot wash with everyone and talk about what's going on, what you liked, what you learned. And so it's, again, I think those sorts of courses are way more worth, or worth way more than the price of admission. So,
well, I'm glad to hear that.
Yes.
And it's kind of the same on this end. This has been a really atypical, really unique experience. We're all staying here on Rich's, Rich's house. So we all come back here, we all eat dinner together, have a bourbon or two, talk about like, hey, this is what happened today, this is what we got going on tomorrow. We all wake up and have breakfast together and get in the car together and come to class. And I don't know where else.
That's so cool.
I don't really know where else you get that. But,
I don't think many places,
But it's like being an instructor cadre in the military somewhere again,
That's awesome. That's so cool.
And I'm glad you guys are socializing at the lodge. That's super cool.
Yes. It's everyone's bonding and connecting and doing exactly what Mike was just talking about. Like they wanted to form a community.
Yeah.
And not just a company that provides courses.
Yeah.
And I think that's so impactful.
It's kind of crazy. Like some people are like very like a big part of their identity is being a member of the American Warrior Society, which I like make no money from. I'm not. I'm a member, but I'm not. But it's pretty awesome to see that.
It is. It's really cool, and I think that's a lot of that is just missing in our society, and so people are drawn to that.
Yeah.
Because it definitely gives them that relationship and community that, especially with the internet and everyone's here and there, and the people, your friends on Facebook, it's like, okay, well, 98% of them aren't really your friends.
Right, yeah.
Having that actual community with people you did really hard things with. That's part of it too. Doing really hard things with people, really uncomfortable things. That's what we miss about the Marines.
Yeah.
Like it sucked in the moment. It was awful in the moment. But looking back at like SEER school and being frozen in the middle of the night and bonding with people, like that's what gives you those stories.
Yeah. So if the viewer doesn't know, tonight today wasn't the last day of the course, but we gave out the certificates. We had a dinner together with students, instructors. I don't think it would have been quite as poignant as it was had today not been. And I hope the camera's picking up this downpour that's going on right now.
I can bake it in there. I can go get some. No, I completely agree. And on the emotional front, you could tell people were so much more. It was so much more impactful for them to do that.
It draws you together.
Doing hard things matters.
Yeah, being uncomfortable.
Yeah. I literally almost teared up when I saw my daughter take her certificate because I was like so proud of how she's done this week.
She has been in it to win it in absolutely everything. Didn't like today.
Today sucked.
Yeah,
I mean, there were parts of the day I was like, I've done this before. Can we just leave?
I was like, TC, we're gonna wrap this up pretty soon, or do you want to say something to him?
Yeah.
But Ava never said a word.
She the whole car ride over here, she was like, "That was so much fun. That was awesome.
That's awesome."
She freaking loved it.
That's amazing.
Yeah, but I think kids too. They need that. They need that. Like it's not as common with girls and like certain cultures throughout time, but I think it's also important for girls. But having that kind of coming of age type moment.
Yeah.
And this kind of, she's 13. Like this kind of served as that like, hey, you're doing some pretty serious stuff. Like. You're learning skills.
She did more today, firearms training wise, than most Americans will do in a lifetime.
Yeah.
Than most gun owners. Than
Oh,
most
yeah.
concealed carry permit
I
holders.
told her,
Yeah.
I was like, today, like, and obviously I've been training her for a while. We've done IDPA matches and stuff. But she's never done like night shoots in the rain.
Yeah.
I told her, I was like, what you did today, like you showed that with a gun, unfortunately laws are the way they are, but like you're in our house, if she's in our house and you have to defend yourself, like you can literally stop a 300-pound man trying to stop you, that's like one of the most amazing things about firearms. People talk about like, oh, gun violence did it. It's like the gun is such an amazing thing to equalize someone of that stature and age. Like a 100-pound or 98-pound girl being able to stop a 300-pound man. That's never been done in the history of, unless she's really good at throwing spears or something, or bow and arrow. It's
and like
incredible.
I'm not a big guy. You're not a big guy.
Yeah,
and there's a lot of big people out there.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, that's why. One of the things I'm talking about in the main video I plan to is how encouraging people to do stuff like this with their kids.
Yeah.
I mean, take your kids and do something like this.
And not only the tangible skills you get out of it, but the intangible. Like she stood out there cold, wet, tired all day long, didn't complain. Like so much of modern life is just comfort-seeking behavior. Yeah. How can I avoid being in the rain? How can I avoid being in the cold? How can I avoid having to stand up when I could sit down? And I mean, that's just it's such a small thing, but it's so missing from everything. Like we've tried to take it out of everything.
Well, I don't know if you remember, but my experience when I went in the Marines, I remember during boot camp we did one of those like first day pack hikes, and I was like, what is this? I was like that breakneck pace, 14-minute pace, and we only probably had like 20 or 30 pounds.
Yeah.
But I was, 18, 17 years old with this day pack. And at the time, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is... And then by the end, 13 weeks go by and you're hiking with your, 60, 70-pound ruck during the Crucible. And then you fast forward a few years and it's like, oh, assessment and selection. And then ITC. It's like all these things that, these courses. And as you look back, it's like, oh, that's a literal walk in the park compared to what you're doing now. When you suffer, your capacity for suffer literally increases.
Yeah, because your brain has I've been here before. This isn't, And,
exactly.
And you're able to tolerate a little bit more with, before it even becomes really a problem.
Yes.
Yeah.
Man, this has been great.
Awesome,
the whole week's been great. I'm super excited about this book. Guys, check it out. Competent and Dangerous by Justin Carroll. And his website is Swift, Silent, Deadly. So I'll have a link there for that as well. Justin,
brother,
appreciate it, man.
Thank you so much,
Thank
man.
you. Y'all, thank you so much for watching. And as always, train to a higher standard.